Hey everybody, Brian here. I haven't had an update in quite a while on the channel, so I wanted to just jump on and kind of give what's been going on since our last video, since we've been making this content and kind of fell off the planet. And there's a bit of a reason why we fell off the planet, and I want to just update you on that, what the future plans for this particular channel are, and kind of how we see things progressing, and then what obviously what we've been up to since starting this channel. But I guess just a little bit of a summary of how we kind of got where we are today, and whether, I know there's a lot of questions about, are you guys still doing real estate, and how are you progressing with that. So I want to give an update on that as well, and then kind of how we are planning to take the channel going forward. So a couple years, I guess, to kind of flash back to a couple years ago. This is in 2020, in early 2020. Those of you who don't know my story, I got laid off. We had just moved to Tennessee, and I got laid off the same weekend. I was working a remote position, and we planned to move from Chicago, the Chicagoland area, down to the Nashville area, and then we got there on Friday. The moving truck was still in the driveway, and then on Monday I get a phone call that I'm getting laid off. So all of my plans for building a house, kind of getting settled here in Tennessee, went on hold, and that created a lot of chaos in our lives. So obviously we weren't planning for that to be the case, and at the time we had a young son. He was 3 or 4 months old at the time. But Myra had been working in she was a flight attendant for several years before we moved. Well, obviously, she was leaving her domicile, so she couldn't stay in flight attending. So we decided that we were going to try to branch out and do something different. My goal was I was going to just come down here, work remote, kind of carry on business as usual. We were going to build a house, and I was going to move her in. We were going to rent for the first few months, kind of get a lay of the land, and then we would move into this house. Well, life, again, has a way of taking you in unexpected twists and turns, and certainly 2020 was that for us. As soon as I got laid off, within a few days, I decided that I wanted to create a business. I decided that I was no longer going to be a subject to an employer determining my fate. We had plans to expand our family at that point, but it had to go on hold. We didn't have insurance. I wasn't going to bring a child into this world when I didn't even have the ability to have some, collecting unemployment, which is very meager unemployment, and had a lot of uncertainty. And then I had to put the house purchasing process on hold. Basically, everything came to kind of a screeching halt. And I had this employer who, I think part of the reason why I got laid off was that I was working remote, and I had moved away from the home base. So I used to go in kind of on a hybrid. And then when I moved here, obviously, it was probably low-hanging fruit on some level for them. And so essentially I had an employer determining where I could live, how I could expand my family, when I could build my house. So I had an employer basically determining my entire fate. So I made a decision that I was no longer going to allow that to happen, that I was going to reclaim control of my career, reclaim control of my life, so that I would be in the driver's seat. And that was kind of the genesis of, I actually created a website and a YouTube channel called A Life After Layoff. And the point of it was, I was in recruiting, if you're not familiar, but I was in a recruiting function, had 20 plus years of experience in human resources / recruiting. So I said, you know what, I'm going to teach people how to get jobs with more authority, because there's a lot of people that were in my shoes with the pandemic happening and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of uncertainty in the market. So I decided that I was going to build this channel, was going to teach people how to navigate hiring processes to get back to work as quickly as they can, to kind of reclaim control. And it actually kind of morphed over time into reclaiming control in your career and no longer being the victim, no longer being subject to an employer or somebody outside of you 100% controlling your life, like I had kind of found myself in. So that was kind of the genesis of the Life After Layoff channel. So I was working feverishly on it at the same time. And about halfway through that year, everything was shut down, as you remember. The real estate market was shut down. Basically, nobody was spending money. Everything was kind of very uncertain. But at the end of it, I wasn't sure how long it would take to get the Life After Layoff channel to going. I believed in it. I thought it would I thought it was a very important project that I was working on, but I wasn't quite sure how long it would take. And obviously I needed income coming in. So that's when Myra and I decided to pursue real estate. And it was actually mainly her. But then I said, you know what, I'm going to do it as well, since I've got this life after layoff thing that I'm working on. But I'm going to go ahead and since you're going to be doing it, I'm going to support you. I'm going to take the test too. We're going to both become realtors. We'll start a kind of a husband and wife team. And that was kind of our plan. So we went off and we did the course and, kind of all that stuff, and ended up, and I think some of you may have seen the course review that we did, which I think is still really the best thing that we did as far as passing the real estate exam. So if you're looking on how to pass real estate exam, check out the other video. I'll leave a link for it. But essentially what we did was we passed the real estate exam here in Tennessee, and then got in with Keller Williams and started doing kind of activities behind the scene on starting to get our business formed. Just so happens that right after I got my license, my other YouTube channel kind of blew up and started to skyrocket. And it forced me to focus on that, because that was what I had originally tried to set up. And so I kind of was forced to do that. At the same time, Myra was doing, I was still supporting Myra behind the scenes. I was like, I'm going to help you with all of your marketing, and we'll work on how do we actually get your name out there. My name will still be on the business, but she was going to be the face of the real estate. And let's face it, she has a way prettier face than me. So I felt like that would probably be the best. So one of the things that she kind of was not as experienced with was the marketing component. And that's something that I have had experience with. So I felt like it would be a good partnership. She would take care of the front face, client facing interactions, customer service related stuff that's kind of really integral to real estate. And then I would help her with all the behind the scenes stuff. So she was doing full on diving into the real estate thing with Keller Williams, and I was helping her in the background while I was building up my channel. So my channel continued to grow very rapidly, and it kind of forced me to spend more and more time with that. At the same time, and this is all over the course of several months, so this isn't like all at once, but over the course of several months, this is in the beginning of 2021, we ended up starting to continue our family. So we decided to get back on it. We actually bought a house, built it, kind of walked through some of the stuff. I think we put it on the channel where we walked through some of the building process, which was very interesting. We learned a ton. Probably still talk about some stuff that we learned there. And then during that period, as the house was being built, Myra ends up getting pregnant again, and we continued to work on building our family. So as she's getting deeper into this pregnancy process, obviously baby comes, and this is now the past year, baby comes, and we end up having a little guy that comes in 2022. And because of all of the distraction, with new baby, not sleeping well at night, plus I had my other business that was really going well, I ended up deciding, we kind of made I don't know if it was a purposeful decision, but it was a decision nonetheless to kind of pull back from this channel, and focus on life. And Myra started really helping in the background with a life after layoff. So long story short, as far as the active real estating, are we still doing it? And I guess the long answer is yes, we still have the intention of doing it. The short answer is that currently right now we're actually not focusing on that, because life after layoff really took over, and has quickly generated a full-time income for us. And with baby, she's now a stay-at-home mom doing that kind of stuff. That being said, I'm still very passionate. We are still very passionate about real estate, and more importantly, how to create a lifestyle that makes you more independent from an employer, because that's the whole point of a life after layoff. I was dabbling in some side hustle stuff there. However, I don't want to mix streams too much, and I think I might use this channel to then start to talk about how to build alternative life or alternative income streams. And let's face it, a lot of people fall into real estate because they end up having They want to make a career change. They want to get out of a traditional career path, maybe become more independent, more in control of their lives. When you can make some pretty good money being a realtor, especially in good labor or good housing markets. And so it just kind of seems to make sense to combine kind of what we learned with the real estate, because we learned a ton in our time doing the real estate and how to market yourself effectively. And again, I'll be talking more about that in this channel. But I think I'm going to expand it even beyond that, so that it'll be more of a alternative income streams and how kind of a normal person, like a quote unquote normal person, can do it. There's a lot of side hustle channels on YouTube, and I don't want to necessarily just duplicate what everybody else is doing, but stuff that I think is reasonable, and I'm going to try to be very realistic and blunt about some of the stuff that we've tried and some of the stuff that didn't work for us and some of the stuff that we have tried ourselves, or some of the stuff that we're interested in trying, and maybe take you along on the journey. So there'll be a blend of some side hustle discussion, still talk about some of the real estate stuff that's important to everybody and some of the lessons that we have learned, and if we were going to parlay it into future real estate business, kind of what we would do, and then kind of the lay of the land for what the real estate market is like. Is it even worth being a real estate agent in today's market, where it's just like the job market? It's so up and down and topsy and turvy. So I think that there's a lot of good discussion. Excuse me, I'm actually just getting over a cold, but I think there's a lot of good discussion around all these topics that are really relevant to people who are trying to reinvent themselves. The whole point of this all is, how do we reclaim control in our careers, and how do we take more ownership and more authority? And I think having alternative ways of earning income and not being so completely dependent on an employer is such an important part or component of that. And I think people who have a tendency toward real estate, they have that mindset already of an entrepreneurial. Essentially, real estate agent is you're owning your own business. Even if you're working for a big company like Keller Williams, you're still owning your own business. You're still 100% in control in that regard, and it's up to you to make your buck. And if you don't make your buck, then you don't eat. So there is a certain level of there's a certain type of person that gets into that, and I think that's the same type of person that would do really well with side hustles. So I want to spend some time on this channel talking about that and kind of giving you an idea of how I would approach it, how we'd approach it. You'll still see Myra's face occasionally on these videos. She is very busy with behind the scenes with the life after layoff and raising a family, so she's kind of a stay-at-home mom. But she'll still be jumping in, and we'll be giving our thoughts on real estate and kind of things that we would do. So you may see more of my face, unfortunately, in these videos, but the purpose of this is to kind of take what we've started here and continue. I just think that there's a lot of good discussion and a lot of good things to cover. Hopefully you'll stick around for it, even if it's not 100% a real estate driven channel. It will still have some of that, but it won't be like 100% on that. But hopefully you'll find some value in it, and hopefully we can help you to reclaim control. If you're interested in learning how to even go deeper than that with reclaiming control in your career, I'd encourage you to check out my other channel. It's a Life After Layoff. You can search on YouTube. You can see it. I've got hundreds of videos on there. And I also have a free newsletter that I set up on my website, and it teaches people how to reclaim control and start to take ownership through, we'll talk some side hustle stuff, but how to really start to position yourself to be more in control and less dependent on employers. But anyway, wanted to give a kind of a brief update on what it is that we're doing with the channel, and you can probably start to expect to see some more content coming out somewhat regularly. I'm going to try to get into a better cadence with it. Probably going to be a little less produced here than I would maybe on my other channel, just because it takes so much time to edit and write scripts and all that kind of stuff. So I'm probably going to be a little bit more free-flowing here and just talking. So hopefully you guys resonate with that. But that's kind of the plan, and hopefully you stick around for it, and hit that subscribe button if you think you might be interested. All right, that's it, and we'll see you on the next one.